I would like to also thank and welcome Mr. Regalado, the Mayor of Miami and his wife, the Diplomatic Corps, the President of the Chambers, and the member of the Board of the Abbey, and everybody here, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good evening. Thank you. Now, I just want to tell you before I introduce our President of the Abbey, I want just to tell you a little story. We bring here President Piñera, maybe my Chilean friends will understand that, por la razón y por la fuerza. Bienvenido, Presidente. Lita, please, have it on. Excuse me, Lita. Lita, she's the president of the ABIC. I understand everybody knows what is the ABIC. ABIC is the Association of the National Chamber of Commerce of Florida, and Lita runs this association since several years, and she's our president, very active. I'm one of her vice president. I'm very honored to be to this board. Maybe to introduce you.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction, Javier Calderio. Merci beaucoup. President Sebastián Piñera, Mrs. Cecilia Morel, Mayor of the City of Miami, Tomás Regalado, Consul General of Chile, Eduardo Salinas, Consuls, Chamber Presidents, sponsors, and friends, I would like to welcome you all to our 8th annual gala dinner. It is now exactly 15 years our first gala dinner in 1999, when we celebrated Lech Walesa from Poland. That was the beginning of this very special recurring event in Miami. I would like to thank all for being here in such an important moment for all of us, welcoming and honoring the former President of Chile, Mr. Sebastián Piñera. President Piñera and Cecilia, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your invaluable time in flying all the way to Miami just to be here with us tonight. We know how extremely busy you are and that you made a special effort in coming here between your trips to other countries. I know that you have traveled extensively around the world, and therefore we are extremely grateful that you found a moment to come to Miami. Later on tonight, someone will make a presentation of your life and achievement, but I'd like to say a few words on this as well. As a Chilean citizen, I am especially proud to have you here, Mr. President. You are a true example of the best of Chile, having excelled professionally both in private and public sector, but also in your private life, with a wonderful wife, children, and grandchildren. You are also a citizen of the world, having lived abroad as an expat with your parents, studied abroad, and brought our Chilean national career to become a major airline internationally. With your achievement, you have given the opportunity to thousands of Chileans to work and prosper. You are a true leader and a motivator in every sense of the word, bringing together expertise from all parts of the world to achieve excellence. As an example of this was your outstanding leadership in the 69 days search and rescue of the 33 miners trapped deep in a mine. You did this with transparency and in full communication with the miners' family while the world watched in the event unfold live on television. Things could have turned wrong, but you had the courage to take the risk and gave results. During those days, you have also shown determination and perseverance and never stopped motivating your troops. And you show that if you believe in something and you have a mission, don't hold back on resources to achieve it. Use the best technology available, accept the knowledge of others who might know more than you. Make sure to hire the best talented and make sure your mission is also good for fellow human beings and society as a whole. Mr. President, you are a true example for all of us here. Now please allow me to just say a few words in my own language in Spanish, since I have the privilege to have a president of my own country. Mr. President, señor Presidente, Cecilia Morel, de todo el fondo de mi corazón, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, por compartir estos momentos tan importantes para toda esta organización que representa a 40 países y que estamos honrados de poder tenerlo entre nosotros como un líder y el ganador del premio anual de todas las cámaras de comercio del estado de la Florida. Muchas gracias, señor presidente, muchas gracias, Cecilia, por estar aquí. Before letting you continue with the dinner, I'd just like to make an announcement and say a few words of thanks. Next month, ABIC is organizing the 10 Business Mission to Hong Kong. This successful mission has become a tradition to ABIC. And for those who have not participated yet in the past, I strongly urge you to do so because it's quite an experience. I'd like to thank all ABIC board members for all your dedication to our organization. Thanks to your commitment, ABIC is a major organization in Florida representing the whole international business community. I also like to thank the Consular Corps. You are a wonderful supporters of ABIC and you are able to bring your communities together, keeping your national traditions, education, and languages alive for generations and generations. I also like to thank the most important person that is here with me and is my lovely husband, Jonas Hager. Without you, I couldn't be here now. Thank you so much for always supporting me. Min älskling, jag älskar dig. And also thank you to my lovely daughter, Claudia, who is a strong supporter of mine. And my little child that I think he already went to sleep. Oh no, he's over there. He's only 3 years old, almost falling asleep. Finally, I'd like to thank this opportunity, thanking all the sponsors who have always been here when we need them throughout the years and contributing with money, goods, and services. The sponsors are the backbone of our success. Without you, it will be far more difficult to be here. President Piñera, you are bringing hope to the whole Latin American continent. May one day have many more leaders like you. And our continent will be then the best place on earth to live in, thanks to you. Thank you all, and I wish you all a wonderful evening and a wonderful gala dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, Lita. You are marvelous. We love your readiness. I would like to call my friend from the board of the ABIC, Mary Gill, President of the Jamaican American Chamber of Commerce. Also, I want to call also my friend Atikar Rahman, the President of the Bangladesh American Chamber of Commerce. I already saw you. I know you are here. Where are you? Atik. Let's go. Welcome them. They are very active on our board and they continue with the wood flooring.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to be here. We have been asked to make the presentations of these awards, so that's what this is. This award recognition goes to Somas TV for its invaluable sponsorship. Are they here? Yes? But give them a hand anyway. Michael Gonzalez, representing Kendall Toyota. Michael. Ooh, okay. We're going to put this aside for him for later. In recognition to Lantam. Come on. No? He says give it to him. Okay. Are you Lantam or you see that they get it? Okay. Thank you very much. Give them a hand. Okay, this is important because these are supporters of this event, so please bear with us. In recognition to Building Center number 3, Architecture and Interior Designer. Okay. Thank you for stepping out. That's really nice. Oh boy. In recognition to Segundo Muelle. Are you here? Okay. Okay, Segunda Muelle for its invaluable sponsorship. Thank you so much. Not at all, don't apologize, you're doing great things. Okay, in recognition to Puerto Viejo Wines. Wine, yeah! Here we go! Great! For your invaluable sponsorship. Come on up. Thank you. Yes, you have to sit. Next, in recognition to Mr. Hoover, Serville, Barton, and Gestier. I think I got that right. Gestier. Yes. Yes, please, come on. Thank you for your invaluable sponsorship. Bravo, yes. even harder. In recognition to Xavier Capdeville. Oh, one of my favorites, St. Thomas University. Yay! Big sponsor, great supporter. Fantastic, yay! Another big sponsor, Barry University. Yay! Okay, this recognition goes to Sabores Chilenos. Are they here? Yes? Fantastic. This should be easy. Chapard. In recognition to Chapard. 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 Yay! Chapard. Thank you for your great support. This is the last one for this segment. In grateful recognition to Atika Rama. I think this thing is big. Congratulations, you deserve it. Come on. Okay, group photograph. Congratulations to all of you and thank you so much for your great support to ABIC.
It's a pleasure now to introduce you Jonas Hagen, the President of the Swedish American Chamber of Commerce. Jonas.
First of all, please have the floor to Xavier with the next job as our Master of Ceremony.
I have the privilege to stand here today really by accident, because the one who was supposed to introduce you, President Piñera, is a very good friend of many of us, who's called Alejandro Aguirre, who was the publisher of Diario Las Americas, and he was the president of the Association of Journalists in Latin America. But unfortunately, this morning he informed us he couldn't come because his mother is very, very ill. So our thoughts go to Alejandro and his family, who have always been with us for so many years. So as a good husband to my wife, I decided to jump in and take care of the situation. But this also meant that I had to, luckily nowadays you don't have to go to Encyclopedia Britannica to know what people have done in their lives. You can just go to Google and so forth and Wikipedia. And I tried to assemble a few, some information about President Piñera, on top of what I already knew, which was quite a lot already. President Sebastián Piñera and Mrs. Cecilia Morel, Mayor of the City of Miami, Thomas Regalado, and then we have our friend, also Consul General Eduardo Salinas, who's here. Stand up, Eduardo. I think we should all know you. Eduardo is a good friend. He was the Vice Consul of Chile here in the 90s, and we became very, very good friends. We went out sailing and had a great time when we were young. And now we are lucky to have him back as the Consul General of Chile here. And his wife, Consuelo, is here also. And consuls and chambers, presidents and sponsors and friends. We are all here to honor a really extraordinary man. Someone who teaches a lot to us. We are entrepreneurs, as you know, most of us here are entrepreneurs. And we have a lot to learn from Sebastián Piñera. Both in work, in business, in government, in family, but also he's an example in ethics, in energy, in execution, in motivation, in teamwork, and in human values in general. Let me tell you a little bit about his life also. In 2001, President Piñera became Chile's first conservative president since the end of the military rule, that in 1999. No, I'm sorry, in 1989. Is that correct? When reviewing President Piñera's CV and achievements, I quickly realized that he had a very typical trait of all the very successful people around the world, no matter what professions they have. They seem to have something very special. I don't know if you realize, but everybody who's very successful, they always have plenty of time to do a lot of things. The more they're successful, the more they have time and the more things they do, and they never say no to anything. And people who never have time for anything, they never have time for anything, and they never get anywhere. And that is a very special trait, I think. Reading your CV, I am so confused about everything you've done at the same time that I'm not quite sure in what order I should present it. Once in a while, you also discover a family where most children turn out to be success stories. And we've had the privilege of knowing some of Sebastián Piñera's siblings here, and they've all been very successful in their lives. And this shows that Sebastián must be coming from parents with a lot of character. And tell me if I'm wrong, please. But this is my intuition, that your parents, your father must have been extremely important for all of you. Because you have something very in common, all of you. And you have come from the same background, but you've been very determined in whatever your endeavors have been. In the case of you, of Sebastián Piñera, You have been able to utilize your life. So let me go back a little bit in time. Sebastián Piñera is something which many of us are here. He started his life as a baby as an expat. They moved to Belgium, and then they were in New York, where Sebastián's family, father was the ambassador of Chile. Hello, I hear a lot of talk over there. I'm sorry to shut you up. Hello. And so he has been formed by his parents abroad and returning to Chile, and he went to university at the Universidad La Católica, which I know very well, which is probably Chile's most prestigious university. And then he went on and got his PhD in Harvard. He also speaks languages. I know that from today that he speaks fluent French. But then in 1971, after his PhD, he started his career. And this is where I get really confused. He became a professor. He was a professor at several universities in Chile during 17 years. During this time, he was also a businessman. He was an advisor. He worked for organizations such as as an advisor at least, for the World Bank, BID, CEPAL, and others. In parallel to this, he was active in the real estate business, where he participated in construction projects, some which were very successful, and others, I understand, were failures, which is good. You need to fail sometimes in life. During that time, he was able to increase his investments and amass his good fortune that he has today. May I be very direct? He was hired by the Banco Citicorp in the early 1980s and became its president before leaving the bank in 1987. Also during these years, Sebastián introduced the credit cards to Chile. I understand that there were no credit cards yet in Chile, and you were the one who actually got them in there. And you developed a company called Bankcard, which you later came to control. In 1987, this company controlled 87% of all the credit cards in the country. That same year, you created FinCard, which itself grew and became a big success in the country. In 1994, you became a substantial shareholder of LAN Chile, and I'm happy to say that, I have American Airlines frequent flyer miles, so I do fly LAN Chile once in a while, and it's really an excellent airline. You later became president of LAN Chile. Then you became a major investor in Apple Chile, Entel, Chilevisión, and you went even into football, soccer that is, into Colo-Colo. You took a very active role. You were not just a passive investor, but he was a very active investor. He was participating in the management of these companies, helping them developing. And at the end of the day, these companies all grew into huge success stories in the country, employing thousands of people, giving the opportunity to a lot of people in the country, contributing to the country financially, to the prosperity of Chile. But then I just asked Cecilia, is Sebastián a politician or is he a businessman? I have never really figured this one out. And she said very spontaneously, he's a politician, which surprised me. I thought really you were a businessman converted to politician, but I understand that in your heart, you're a politician. So you entered politics in earnest in 1988. You're in the plebiscite on whether Augusto Pinochet should stay in power. What I understand is that you voted no, and you offered your support to the Christian Democrat Eduardo Frei. You were elected president after having been senator and so on. Sebastián Piñera became president of Chile in early 2010. And you started off with a few prizes. You might have seen, that was quite impressive for all of us to be able to witness Sebastián Piñera managing first an earthquake that devastated whole towns, houses that collapsed, total destruction, families without homes and work and so forth. And Sebastián was there leading this very difficult time for the country. Then shortly after that you got the miners' crisis, which Lita already has told you about. And he managed that. He was not scared of going around in the world and asking for the best experts in the world. He was not scared of doing this online, on television, in front of everybody, even if it might be a failure. Because many countries, they don't like doing those things. They want to do everything very hidden, just in case things go wrong. Sebastián Piñera was totally transparent. And I remember some people criticized you for that, of taking maybe advantage of the situation. But I think it was exactly the other way around, that you were very, very smart in that respect. You wanted to make sure that everybody knew exactly what you were doing. And that everybody would participate, whether it would be a failure or a success. And you showed that with perseverance and determination, you would succeed. And you were an example for all of us on how we should ourselves be in our own lives, and how we should, with our own families and with our jobs and so forth. Keep to your ethics, keep your goals, your mission, you're totally focused. And make sure you have the best people around you, the best technology. Don't spare on anything, just go. And you also are very, very careful on applying the rule of law, especially with your neighboring countries like Bolivia and Peru and so forth. And you have shown that a person like you can be a winner in Latin America and make sure that your country is successful and the best country in the whole continent. So like Lita said, we wish we would have more of you. Let me just finish also by saying, in addition to all this, and most importantly, Sebastián Piñera is married to Cecilia Morel. And I had the fortune of picking up this wonderful couple at the airport this morning. And I did tell you that you were a really wonderful couple, and we knew it. Even before meeting you, we knew it. Everybody in the world knows that you're a very wonderful couple. And I congratulate you, Sebastián, for having such a wonderful wife. You have 4 children, and you have founded some foundations, such as the Fundación Mujer Emprende, which aims to assist in the development of young women of low income to excel and to get out of poverty and their misery and not stand on their own feet. You also have the Fundación Cultura y Sociedad with a mission of environmentalism. And then you have the Fundación Futuro, whose mission is to help in Chile's development of justice and freedom and democracy. So I would now like to ask Lita to come here to stage. Please come. And I think we would also like all the board members to come up here. Those who were standing here before for the nice picture, if you could all come back again. Okay, I mixed things up, but we'll do it this way. We will give the award now, and then Sebastián will talk right after. So all the board members come up here. And we would like to present you Sebastián Piñera, the EBIT Award for Leadership in Global Trade. now Mr. Piñera will give us a few words.
Thank you very much to everybody. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Lita, to the mayor of the city of Miami, to Jonas, and of course to Eduardo Salinas, our consul in Chile, from Chile in Miami. Let me tell you something. I will try to apply a very wise principle, which is called the miniskirt principle. It has to be long enough to cover the basics and short enough to keep your attention. I will start by saying that this year, 2014, is a very special year. We are commemorating two very significant anniversaries. First of all, 100 years of the First World War and 25 years from the fall of the Berlin Wall. Why do I say that they are very significant anniversaries? Because normally historical centuries do not coincide with chronological centuries. The 20th century didn't start in the year 1900. Nothing happened that year. It started in 1914, when Europe went abruptly from the Belle Époque and the Charleston to the First War, the war of the 20 million dead, and then came the October Revolution in Russia, and our 20th century started to show its backbone. Two models, two ideologies, which didn't coincide in anything, and they fought each other for 75 years, which was the time that the 20th century lived with us. Because that century ended in 1989, when the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain put an end to that century and to the Cold War. And now we are living in a new century, which is the 21st century, which is completely different from the one in which we were born. This new century has some characteristics which are very significant. First of all, we're experiencing right now the most profound and vast revolution in the history of mankind. Much more important and significant than the agricultural revolution or the industrial revolution, which is the revolution of the society of knowledge and information, which is changing our way of life. The way we live, we get informed, we communicate with other people, we get our entertainment, and that is a very specific characteristic of this new century. And the second one is that we are living in a real global world. Just one figure. 20 years ago, international trade was only $3 billion. Now it's more than $19 billion. It has multiplied by 100 times. And part of that is due to your work as chambers of commerce. And therefore, this new century, the 21st century, is showing us some very significant aspects. The society of knowledge and information, new powers like China and India that are confronting the US, and at the same time a globalized society. We live in a small world, and that's something that is very important to take into account when we are planning what are we going to do in the future. And at the same time, we are living the end of three mega cycles. First, the end of the super expansionary monetary policy in the US, and at the same time, the super borrowing in the US. Second, we are living the end of the super growth cycle in China and the super accumulation of reserve in that country. And third, we are living the end of the super commodity prices cycle. And those three ends will change our economy dramatically. And therefore, we have to anticipate what's coming in order to be able to take advantage of the new opportunity that we will be facing. Let me say something about Latin America. Latin America has always been the continent of the future. We have had it all. A vast territory, abundant and very generous natural resources. We haven't had wars like the Europeans or religious fights like in Ireland or the Middle East. But despite all those advantages and opportunities, we haven't been able yet to overcome poverty and to become a developed continent. And that's our fault. That's why I'm absolutely convinced that Latin America can do much better than what we have done until now. We have three different models in Latin America. On the one hand, you have the ALBA countries, like Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. In the second group, you have the Mercosur countries, like Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And then you have the Pacific Alliance countries, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile. Very different models, very different political models, development models, but with very different results. Up to now, if you compare how those countries are being performing, you will have to conclude that the differences are so huge that maybe we should conclude very rapidly that some of those models are not going in the right direction. That's why I would like to mention something about Chile. Chile was the poorest Spanish colony, and it has become the country with the highest per capita income in Latin America. And we have achieved this result in the last 20 years, because there are countries which are much richer than Chile, like Argentina and Venezuela. But something has been done in Chile, which is basically our commitment to real democracy, respect for the rule of law, separation of power, freedom of press. Those are the real characteristics of the democratic system, which is a key aspect and factor to be able to develop the country. Second, we have a very strong commitment with a true market economy, free, open, competitive, transparent market economy. And third, we do have a very strong commitment with something which some people don't understand, but is very important, which is to be very respectful of the macroeconomic equilibrium. But this is absolutely necessary, but it's not enough. That's why I think that all Latin American countries, we will have to build or reinforce in the future the new pillars of development. First of all, to unleash the forces of freedom, innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity, which is the most important natural resource that we have everywhere in the world. Many times our government, instead of unleashing those forces, they try to restrict or even exhaust those extremely powerful forces. Second, we do have to do a Copernican change in the quality of our human capital by changing and improving the quality of our educational system. Third, we need to triple or quadruple our investment in science and technology. Fourth, we can live with the levels of poverty that many Latin American countries have still today. And finally, the fifth pillar is that we do have to increase or improve the quality of our democracy, the quality of our institutions. Those are 5 challenges that we will have to face if Latin America wants to become a developed continent. In our case, we had to govern in very difficult times. The year that when we came to power in 2010, the year before, Chile was in a very deep recession. Growth was negative, investment was going down, unemployment was going up, and so many other things. On top of that, 10 days before we had to take the responsibility of governing our country, we suffered the 5th worst earthquake in the known history of mankind. In a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, we lost 1/3 of our hospitals, 1/3 of our schools. We lost thousands of public works like bridges, airport, ports, dams, and many other things. And therefore, we had to face another challenge. In top of recovering the country from the recession, and our target were extremely ambitious. We set a target to grow at 6% per year, to be able to create enough jobs to achieve full employment, to double our investment in science, technology, and in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship, and the results are there. The economy was able, in 4 years, not only to reconstruct what has been destroyed by the earthquake, but at the same time to recover our leadership, our dynamism, and recover our capacity to grow and create jobs. And that's why Chile became the country with the highest per capita income in Latin America. During that year, during that year, 2010, and I will remember this forever, it was on August the 5th of 2010, I was meeting with the president of Ecuador when I got the news that in a very small mine in the driest desert in the world, there had been an accident and 33 miners were caught under millions of tons of rock, 2,000 feet down the earth, and the outcome or the chances were very small because we didn't know where they were, we didn't know where they were dead or alive. And I remember I came back immediately to Chile, and on my way back I called 4 presidents, among them the President of the United States, asking for help. What kind of equipment, technology, people, knowledge could be useful to undertake this huge challenge of finding and rescuing our 33 miners. We were digging or drilling for 17 days blindly because we didn't know where they were. And after 17 days, we finally found them. And that was a real expression of joy, not only in Chile, but among many other countries, I would say the whole world. Because what had started as a real tragedy was ending as a real blessing, as a commitment with faith, with life, with will, with the strong will to find them and rescue them, whatever it would cost. I remember that when I went to see the miners' families, the wives, mothers, daughters, which was one day after the accident, because I was in Ecuador, I had to come back. They were absolutely desperate. The news were not good. The odds were terrible. And they were asking for an answer. I remember I told them when they were crying, look, the only commitment I can make as president of Chile is that we will look for them as if they were our own children. And that was the commitment that we honored. Because during those 17 days, many people thought that we should stop the search and rescue effort because the possibilities of the odds were so small. But we decided to keep looking for them and honoring our commitment to look for them as if they were our own children and asking for help, knocking all the doors. I remember at that time that there had been an accident with a Russian submarine, the Kursk, and the Russians didn't ask for help. And when they finally decided to ask for help, it was too late. And when they got to the deep of the ocean, all the Marines, the Russian Marines, were dead. That was an example that's why we start asking for help from the very first moment. Let me finish this word by saying something about entrepreneurship. And since it's late and you look tired, I will just remember a real story. When I was starting my PhD in Harvard in the 1970s, there was a man which was very famous at that time, which was considered the most important, or one of the most important entrepreneurs in the world. He was an oil entrepreneur from Texas. He was 95 years old, and I remember this because he died only a week after he came to our class at Harvard. And we asked him, what did you do to become the or one of the most important entrepreneurs in the world? And he said, with a very small and weak voice, very simple. I always wake up very early in the morning. I always worked very hard during the day, and I discovered oil. We all laugh. We all laugh like you. I said, no. Excuse me. Let me tell you, with my age, I've learned that to wake up early in the morning is the way, the will, the attitude with which you face or you confront your life. If you wake early in the morning, that means that you are looking for something. That you have you really want to become successful. You really want to achieve your mission. To work hard during the day is the effort, the painful part of this challenge. And of course, to find oil is luck. But let me tell you something. Those three things are not independent. I have found during my 95 years of living in this world that those people that wake up early are more lucky than those that stay in bed until late, and those people that work hard are also more lucky or luckier than those that don't work hard. Therefore, my only advice is that wake up early, work hard, and be lucky. Thank you very much.
President, it has been a pleasure to have you here in Miami. It's a true honor, and now I would like the President of the Chambers to come here, the Consuls Generals as well, Consul General and Mayor of the City of Miami, Thomas Regalado, Mr. Cecilia Morel, of course, the most important lady of the night. Please join us for the family picture with President and the award. Mrs. Cecilia Morel, next to the President. Congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations, Mrs. Cecilia Morel. Thank you again for being in Miami.
Usted me lo tiene, ¿no?
It's been a pleasure to have you. You want to say a few words?
Especially Lita, who organized this, and your university to receive us. Thank you very much to our major and to all of you in representation of all the chambers, commerce chambers of the world.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thank you very much. They have very huge time in Miami, but they wanted to be with us here tonight. Congratulations again, and thank you. Thank you all for